Formule X at Drievliet is a small but interesting launch coaster. This Maurer X-Car is the most intense coaster at this Dutch theme park by far. Very few people make it to Drievliet, but is it worth visiting for Formule X? Find out in this review. Drievliet had a great relationship with Maurer Sohne. The park had 4 roller coasters as of their 2006 season, and 3 of them were from Maurer. 2 were prototypes. Coppermine was Maurer's first Wild Mouse, and Twistrix was the company's first spinning coaster. 2007 brought another first. Drievliet installed Formule X, the first Maurer coaster with a launch. This would be the company's second X-Car coaster after Drayton Manor's G-Force. The coaster is placed in the back half of the park, replacing the park's other Maurer spinner in Extreme. Formule X's stats don't look overly impressive. The ride is as tall as a Wild Mouse coaster at about 50 feet or 15 meters, and only has 1,150 feet or 350 meters of track. But the super compact layout actually does a lot with a little. This ride features a bright red track and black supports. The ride looks quite good in the coaster skyline as you approach it. However, it looks a little suspect as you get closer and enter the queue line. Now this queue offers amazing views of the coaster's elements, but you can see the ride was designed as a portable coaster. Even though this coaster shows no signs of leaving after 15 years, the queue line still feels temporary and haphazard. You have this elevated metal platform followed by these multicolored construction barriers over the tarmac. This is honestly pretty shocking to see after you're greeted by that well-themed front half of Drievliet. Here you just have some car tires and a giant billboard with the ride stats and layout. And based off the crowds this park gets, you probably won't have to wait too long. It's worth noting this coaster doesn't open until a half hour after the main entrance, so it may not be the most efficient use of your time to head there first. This coaster was a 15 to 20 minute wait maximum during my visit, and that was with it running just one car. Each car has just 3 rows, seeing a total of 6 riders. The ride does have a second car available, but because of how quickly the crew checks the restraints, the line still moved at a steady pace even with one train operations. The crew would check the restraints in 5 to 10 seconds flat, and the train would be parked in the station for no more than 20 to 30 seconds. The train was basically cycling non-stop because of this. These restraints are identical to the other X cars. You have no seatbelts and just a lap bar that swivels down from the side. Well, I call it a lap bar, but for me it rests against my stomach. This can cause an issue on the final stop on the sky loops, but the forces on Formula X don't cause any discomfort, so I don't mind the restraints. As for which row you want, the forces are nearly identical across the car. I would recommend waiting the extra cycle or 2 for the front though. The front gives you that unobstructed view, and it's also glass smooth. Row 2 is very smooth as well. Row 3 has a little bit of a shuffle, but it's honestly not too bad. Once dispatched, you turn out of the station and you immediately hit the LSM launch. You accelerate to 45 miles per hour or 72 kilometers per hour in just 2 seconds. While that's a pretty modest top speed, especially for a launch coaster, this launch is quite punchy. You accelerate down the track quite quickly. It is the best part of the ride. You then go into a dive loop. The entry into the element is pretty elongated, and it honestly feels more like an overbank for the first half. You only invert at the very last second, but the profiling still causes some decent hang time. Then you get good positive G's as you're pulled back down to the ground. Next is this banked turn. It's not overly exciting, you just get some faint laterals, but it leads into 2 of the ride's best elements. You fly over this sharp bunny hill that gives a good ejector pop for all. This is the only airtime on the ride, but it at least makes it count. You then head into the ride's second and best inversion, a super drawn out barrel roll. The element starts off like a corkscrew, but you slow down mightily at the apex and you take your sweet time unwinding. This results in some incredible hang time. I love this element's placement right above the ramp into the station because it really gets guests hyped for the ride. The inversion also comes extremely close to a nearby tree, and if your hands are raised, you can actually hit the branches. You then round a slow overbank turn. The banking is so extreme that this element nearly qualifies as an inversion. Since you crawl through it, you get some lateral hang time at the apex as your body leans sideways. You then rise into the brake run, getting a weak burst of laterals before smoothly coming to a stop, ending the coaster. So what would I rate Formula X? I would give this launch coaster a 7 out of 10. This is a good ride, especially for the park it's located at. This ride's family stats make it fairly approachable for most ages, and it does enough to satisfy a coaster enthusiast too. There are 4 really good elements here. I love the zippy launch, the 2 inversions, and that powerful bunny hill. The ride's biggest flaw is its short length, which is the biggest downside to a lot of launch coasters. But with the crowds Drievliet sees, you can usually get right back in line and re-ride fairly quickly. I'm honestly surprised this layout wasn't cloned more given its quality and size. It was only cloned once with Crazy Car at Happy Valley Wuhan. So those are my thoughts on Formule X, the best coaster at Drievliet. What are your thoughts on this X-Car coaster? Do you think it makes Drievliet worth visiting? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.